Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, and this week we're going to come to you with some information on adversity with my wonderful son, Nash. Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with more information on life, leadership, and business, helping you to build your values and principles so that you can be the best version of you. And we're going to do a few episodes here with my son, Nash, as he's continued to develop into a rock star speaker. And that came through his life journey and our life journey and what he's been doing and continuing to work on and hone his craft as a speaker. And he's done an absolute phenomenal job.
But I got a long ways to go.
But he has a long ways to go. And the blessing for Nash has been the adversity he faced at 12 years of age that rocked all of our worlds, and especially his when he got accidentally shot and paralyzed. That was a massive adversity. But as we know, there are silver linings in everything presented to us in our journey. Everything has a reason and a purpose, even though it can be massively painful. And for Nash, it was a huge adversity at a very young age that struck him hard, and I think struck a lot of people in our community and people we're friends with on social media, and how we would handle it and moving forward. And we as a family look at everything as opportunities, no matter how drastically good or bad they are. But this week we want Nash to just speak on some of the things he has learned, grown from, gained perspective on through his massive adversity. And so, Nash, I don't know if you need to talk about your scenario, but given your scenario, you're now 17. When it happened, you were 12. And at 12, probably, what was your biggest adversity prior to the accident?
Probably something with a sports team or a bad test. Pretty marginal. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. And then bam, August 7th.
Yeah.
2020
Yep.
hits, and you get faced with massive adversity.
Right.
So with that in mind, there's people watching. Some have faced massive adversity. Some have not really faced any adversity, but may be adverse to them at whatever level it might be. There's varying levels of adversity. But give us some of your perspective pre-event and post-event and some of that journey and handling adversity and thinking about adversity before, and then how you've grown to handle and think about adversity since.
Right. So, obviously before the accident, I was 12, so I hadn't really experienced much adversity in my life. But with adversity, I think there's two different components to it. I think there's some adversities that aren't good, that can really tear you down. And I think there's adversities that are good, right? But the other part of that is you have to decide whether you're going to use it for the best or let it tear you down. And so, for me at the beginning of my accident, I was 12, and I was shot and paralyzed, right? And I didn't know what life looked like. I was terrified, and I wasn't real, enthused that I was shot, But, now that I'm older and looking back, I love adversity now. Like bring it my way. I love it, and I love to show, what I'm really made of, and using my adversity to my advantage, right? And without this adversity, I wouldn't have the story I have and been able to change a few lives that I have changed. So that's why I love adversity, because it gives me a different story than everybody else, and it makes me grow every time something doesn't go my way in life. And I try, when I get adversity, to make my life better, right? I try to make my hardest days my happiest days, right? When days are really, really hard, that's when I try to be happiest, because when adversity strikes, it's real easy to feel bad for yourself, right? And choose to be sad. But I think when adversity strikes, we have to look the other way, lean on the people we love, lean on our faith, and really choose to be positive, right? The days that are hard are my most positive days. And that's how my perspective on adversity has changed.
What would you tell another high school kid right now that was faced with some adversity? What advice would you give them if they're faced with something tough?
My biggest advice would be, you may not know or understand why right now, but eventually you will understand. Right? When my accident happened, I questioned and I wondered why. And I never thought the question would be answered. But, 5 years from now, I can tell you that there was a purpose behind it, and it wasn't about me. The adversity wasn't about me. It was to make me a better human and change the lives around me. So even though when it first happens, you may not know why, eventually someday you will understand why. And I think that's very comforting, and also knowing that what you're going through is also in God's hands. For me, I try to control what I can control and do that to the best of my ability, and then leave the rest in God's hands. And for me, knowing that it's in God's hands is extremely comforting.
Tell us, Sue, when you say about faith in God, how has your faith grown? When did you start to really lean into your faith, and why?
So my faith has been kind of a long journey. I went to a Catholic school growing up, and we were faithful then. The accident happened, and that's when I really began to lean on my faith. But then I really got into it, I'd say honestly, probably then less than a year ago. I started just talking to my grandma every morning about God. Every morning we text. She sends me Bible verses and stuff like that, and that's really, really grown my faith and made me help understand my faith.
So we talk about adversity. You can either let it be your wings, or you can let it be your anchor. And I think if you're facing adversity, that's the choice you get to make.
Mm-hmm.
You can let it take you to dark places, or you can face it with your faith, family, friends, a solid minister, which we have, and move forward and reaching and looking for the silver linings. And it's a wonderful opportunity. And it is about your mindset. Beyond your faith, it's been about Nash's mindset. Coaching Nash and his mindset, his mental mindset. Where was he going? What was he thinking? And helping him to come out on top, even though he felt like he was on the bottom.
And going through adversity, right? Not every day I was going to be super positive that day and super happy. Like, there were days after middle school that I would go home crying. Every day in rehab, I probably cried at least once a day, right? It wasn't always just unicorns and rainbows, and I wasn't always just like, oh, I love Jesus, Like, there was days that were hard, and there was days that I yelled at God, right? It's not all just positivity.
Yeah, that was some gold there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We need to wrap this up, but specifically when it comes to yelling at God, Karen and I would let Nash go to his dark spot and be really angry, let him get it out. But he can only stay there for short periods of time. Get it out and move forward, right?
Right.
And I think Karen did a phenomenal job coaching that and preaching that. And so anyway, we're going to wrap this up. I don't want to go too long because we could talk for a very long time on adversity and things there, and how Nash has faced it, how we've faced it as a family. We hope this has given you a little more insight. If you've got questions, more questions, you want to ask Nash some questions, we'd be more than happy to come back with some answers at some point. Because if you're a Lindberg, we believe in reaching out to people that have experienced it. I really don't want to learn from people that haven't done it, aren't doing it well, aren't doing it at really high levels with great success. And this is your guy. He teaches me. And so we're thankful for your time today. We're glad you joined us. If you like this information, subscribe here. We'll come back next week with some more information with Rockstar Nash. Thanks for joining us, friends. See you next week.